Somewhere inside a major American automaker's engineering division, a document existed that was never supposed to leave the building. It detailed failure rates, internal complaint logs, and a repair cost figure that the company had calculated years before the first customer ever called a dealership. And according to a whistleblower who has now gone on record, the decision was made to ship those engines anyway. This is not a rumor. This is not a forum post. This is an account backed by internal communications, NHTSA complaint data, and a class action lawsuit currently moving through federal court. And if you own a truck or SUV built between 2022 and 2025, what you are about to hear directly affects the vehicle sitting in your driveway right now. The numbers coming out of this exposure are not small. We are talking about an estimated 340,000 vehicles potentially affected, an internal repair cost projection that one source places at over $4,200 per engine, and a timeline showing that executives were briefed on this failure mode at least 18 months before any public recall was issued. 18 months. That is a year and a half of customers buying, financing, and driving a vehicle that someone inside that company already knew was compromised. Stay with this until the end, because the final piece of what this whistleblower revealed is the part that changes how you look at every warranty claim you have ever been denied. To understand what was covered up, you have to understand what was failing. The engine at the center of this investigation is a turbocharged four-cylinder unit used across multiple model lines in the 2022 through 2025 production window. According to complaints filed directly with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, owners began reporting a specific failure pattern, a low oil pressure warning appearing between 28,000 and 45,000 miles, followed within weeks by catastrophic engine seizure. Not a slow decline, not a gradual warning, a hard stop. NHTSA complaint records, which are public and searchable, show over 2,100 filed complaints tied to this specific failure signature as of early 2026. That number on its own would typically trigger an accelerated investigation. What the whistleblower alleges is that internal complaint data collected through dealership repair order systems showed a figure more than 4 times higher than what reached NHTSA, because customers who brought their vehicles in under warranty were, in many cases, being given a different diagnostic code, one that pointed to driver negligence, one that voided coverage. Let that settle for a moment. You bring in your truck, the engine is failing, the technician runs diagnostics, and somewhere in that process, the code entered into the system is not the one that matches the actual mechanical failure. It is the one that protects the manufacturer from paying the claim. Owners across America have been reporting exactly this experience on NHTSA complaint forms for the past 2 years. One owner from Ohio described it this way in a filed complaint, and we are quoting directly. Dealer stated oil consumption was within spec despite engine failure at 31,000 miles. Warranty claim denied. Paid $6,800 out of pocket. That is not a one-off. According to the pattern documented in the complaint data, it is a system. Now here is where the whistleblower account becomes critical. The individual, described in court filings as a former quality assurance engineer with direct access to internal failure projection models, alleges that by mid-2023, leadership had received a briefing document showing that the engine in question was experiencing piston ring wear at a rate inconsistent with the advertised service life. The projected failure window matched almost exactly what NHTSA complaints are now showing in the field. The decision that followed, according to this account, was not a recall. It was a revised warranty language update quietly pushed to dealerships, redefining what constituted normal oil consumption for this engine family. In other words, they did not fix the problem. They redefined what counted as a problem. A class action lawsuit filed in the Eastern District of Michigan and currently in discovery, names the automaker directly and cites this exact sequence of events. The suit alleges that the company engaged in a pattern of fraudulent warranty denial by using diagnostic protocols that were updated after the internal failure briefing, specifically to reduce the number of claims that would qualify for coverage. If that allegation holds up in court, it would mean that your warranty, the document you signed at the dealership and trusted, was deliberately structured to be harder to honor after the company already knew the engine was failing. If you own any vehicle from this manufacturer's 2022 through 2025 lineup equipped with a turbocharged four-cylinder, there are 3 things you should do immediately. First, pull your NHTSA complaint history for your specific VIN at NHTSA.gov. Second, document every dealership visit with a written summary of what the technician told you verbally, because verbal denials leave no record. Third, if you have already had a warranty claim denied related to engine oil consumption or low oil pressure, you may have standing to join the existing class action. The case details are publicly available through the federal court's PACER system. And if you want more investigations like this, the kind that take hundreds of hours of NHTSA research and court record review to build, subscribe right now. We post a new investigation every week because this kind of information does not come from press releases. Now, what the whistleblower revealed next is the part that the manufacturer's legal team is fighting hardest to keep out of discovery, and it goes beyond this one engine. According to the account provided to attorneys representing the class action plaintiffs, the failure projection model used in that 2023 briefing was not built from scratch. It was adapted from an earlier internal study conducted on a previous engine generation, one that had already gone through a recall cycle. The engineers who built the new projection model used the old failure data as a baseline, which means that when they saw the new numbers climbing toward that same threshold, they already had a reference point for what those numbers meant. They had seen this before, they had recalled an engine for it before, and the allegation is that they chose a different response this time. The different response was financial. Court documents reference an internal cost-benefit analysis, the kind of document that becomes explosive in litigation, that compared the projected cost of a proactive recall against the projected cost of handling failures through warranty claims, out-of-warranty denials, and revised diagnostic protocols. According to the whistleblower, the analysis concluded that managing the problem through the warranty system would cost the company significantly less than a full recall. The figure cited in the lawsuit for the recall avoidance savings is approximately $1.1 billion over a 5-year horizon. $1.1 billion, that is the number that sat on one side of the scale. On the other side was your engine. Consumer Reports reliability data for this manufacturer's affected models shows a sharp decline in owner-reported engine satisfaction beginning with the 2022 model year, dropping from above-average scores in 2021 to well below average by 2023. That is a publicly available, independently verified data point that aligns precisely with the internal timeline the whistleblower describes. The data and the account are telling the same story from 2 different directions. This is also not the first time this manufacturer has faced allegations of this structure. A 2019 settlement reached without admission of liability addressed a separate engine line under similar circumstances, internal awareness of a failure pattern, delayed public action, and a warranty system that owners allege was designed to minimize payouts. That settlement covered approximately 180,000 vehicles and included a cash compensation fund. The current lawsuit is seeking a larger fund given the scale of vehicles involved. What does this mean for you right now today if you are making a payment on one of these trucks every month? It means your risk is real and your documentation is your only protection. The dealership visit, where the technician tells you your oil consumption is within spec and sends you home, needs to be followed by a written request for the specific diagnostic codes entered into the repair order. You are entitled to that information. Under the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act, a manufacturer cannot deny a warranty claim without documenting a specific, legitimate reason. If the reason they document does not match the failure you experienced, that gap is exactly what the class action attorneys are building their case on. The NHTSA investigation into this engine family, opened in late 2025, is currently in the preliminary evaluation stage. That stage can lead to an engineering analysis, which can lead to a recall demand. The process is slow by design, but the whistleblower's decision to go on record with attorneys has accelerated the timeline considerably. Discovery in the federal case is expected to surface internal communications that NHTSA has not yet been able to compel on its own. When those documents become part of the public court record, the picture they paint is expected to be significantly more detailed than what is available now. The cover-up, if the court finds it was one, did not require a room full of villains. It required a series of documented decisions, each one defensible on its own, each one building on the last, until the cumulative effect was that 340,000 American families were sold a product that internal models had already flagged as compromised. That is the machinery of how this works, not a conspiracy, a process protected by legal language, diagnostic code systems, and warranty terms that most buyers never read until the moment they need them. This is the kind of investigation no dealership wants you to see. Subscribe to Motor Crisis Watch, because next week we are going inside the repo wave, now hitting dealers who over-ordered the exact models at the center of this lawsuit. Share this video with anyone you know who owns a 2022 to 2025 vehicle from this manufacturer. They have a right to know what the company already knew, and their engine could be next.